A traditional feature on our pregame shows of Ohio football is the Athens Area Union Building Trades Other Mic segment. This year, we're socially distant. We'll air the full-length interview on our social media. We'll air some bites in pregame, but hey, 2020, right? It's Ohio and Central Michigan, joined by the outstanding voice of the Chippewas, Adam Jaksa. Adam, how are you?
I'm good, Russ. It's been a different year, as you know, but I'm excited for football and excited that somehow the MAC could pull this off. And I know Ohio's going to be a good opponent and should be a really good football game coming up here.
Nobody, with the exception of one, thought Central Michigan was going to be very good last year. We'll talk about that one coming up in a moment. But the Chippewas now have expectations on them. And expectations can be a great thing. That means Central is certainly on the right track. Your thoughts on this team playing with the expectation of being at the top of the MAC West this year?
Yeah, certainly didn't expect that on our backs 2 years ago with how the season finished. But here we are. What a season it was last year. Really unforgettable in many ways. But yeah, they bring so much back from last year. That offense is potent with a ton of weapons. I mean, Jim McElwain is obviously a proven coach. I know him and Coach Solich have tremendous respect for each other. Coach Mack has said great things. Coach Solich on his presser earlier this week said great things. So tremendous respect, two excellent coaches. And it is weird to now have expectations in 2020 for CMU when they were where they were a couple of years ago. But I also think they're warranted expectations just because of the experience they bring back, specifically, as you know, Russ, on the offensive side of the ball. If you've got a quarterback and you've got a humming offense in the Mid-American Conference, you've got a shot to get to Detroit.
Yeah, and the question is going to be who's going to be starting at quarterback for Ohio. Same kind of question for maybe some different facets to that question on the Chippewa side. What can you tell us about what you know about the quarterback situation for CMU?
Yeah, David Moore was the guy last year that took snaps with Quentin Dormady, and then you also had Tommy Lazzaro that kind of ran Wildcat stuff in there as well. I think they want it to be David Moore, but they're still waiting for the NCAA. So what they've said to let us know if David Moore is going to be eligible. But remember, last year he took the banned substance, tested positive, had to sit for an entire year. That suspension ended October 5th. But we didn't play any games. So does that suspension still count because he didn't sit out any games? They think he's going to be cleared and he's going to play. I would assume if he is cleared, and they expect to hopefully know before this game gets kicked off at 7 o'clock, then I would imagine he's going to be the starter. Now, with that said, they've had a lot of positive things to say about Daniel Richardson. He's a guy that was here for spring, has been on a roster. He's from Florida. But they brought in a transfer in between that time, and that's Ty Brock. I would imagine he's going to get some snaps. So, Russ, maybe similar to your guys' situation, two quarterbacks, if David Moore is eligible to go, I would expect Ty Brock to potentially be that Tommy Lazzaro role, maybe more if needed, where he can wildcat and he can do some things with his legs. But, again, if David Moore is not eligible, then you look to a Daniel Richardson or a Ty Brock that just came in from Sam Houston State.
From a standpoint of approaching this season, even though the MAC West was won in unpredicted fashion last year, the job is not done because of the loss in the championship game, and then San Diego State just took the chips apart in the bowl game. So I would imagine there's being pleased about last year, but also some fire for the fire-up chips on how it really came to an end.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, there's definitely that unfinished business feeling. I think Khalil Pimpleton, one of the top wide receivers in the MAC last year, he said it just last week. We want to remove West from the title of MAC West champions and just be MAC champions. And they felt like they were there last year, and Miami played a great game. And Chuck Martin, they deserve a ton of credit for winning kind of that uglier defensive special team style game, usually ones that again, just traditionally in the MAC aren't got kind of teams that have won it in the past. It's been those flashy offenses and those quarterbacks. And I think CMU, they felt like they were good enough to win, but they fell a little short. And certainly, as you mentioned, the bowl game didn't turn out the way that they wanted. So they had all this momentum, and then it was kind of derailed at the end of the season. So definitely, I think there's that hunger for them to come back out here, even though it's just 6 games. I think it's going to start right away because there are no conference game or non-conference games. You're jumping right in, and you only get 6 opportunities.
We mentioned the one, and the one person that voted for the Chippewas to win the MAC West and win the MAC last year, as he always did, was Don Shido. We're coming up to the year anniversary of his untimely passing the week in advance of the Mid-American Conference Championship. The voice of the Chippewas, who loved the Chippewas, and you loved him and he loved you. What are your emotions now that you're the voice of the Chippewas coming up to that year anniversary? And so many people are thinking about you and him and his family. It's got to be tough, I'm sure, but I'm sure you'll be inspired by that memory on Wednesday night.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and I appreciate you bringing them up, Russ. I mean, I have goosebumps right now, still thinking about it. It's been what seems like the weirdest and most difficult year of my life and of many people's lives. And certainly, it started when that happened in early December, and it's just been a whirlwind. How fast things have moved, and how quickly we've moved on to, I think, dealing with other problems as a society that, it's still one that's very close to my heart, and I think about it every day. And, I think one of the things, too, is people have asked me, what does it feel like to step in and take over? And I know maybe it's the wrong approach, but sometimes I feel guilty because I know last year when I did step in, that was going to be Don's first opportunity to call a MAC championship game with his best friend, Brock Gutierrez, former Chip. And, they didn't get to do that. So to see them work together for 10 years and allow me to come in and just be a part of their team and enjoy the success with them and kind of be a tight-knit family as you and many other broadcasting teams are, it was a special feeling for him. And certainly when we called that MAC championship game a few days after he passed it, there was a giant hole in our hearts and in Central Michigan's hearts. So it's tough to move on from a guy that was loved by me and so many others, including Chippewa players, Chippewa coaches, Chippewa alums, the Mount Pleasant community. He meant so much and heard his voice for a decade, just that Bobcat fans have heard your voice for a decade plus. So thinking about him every day, and I know you're absolutely right. If he was here today, he'd be picking the Chips #1. But I will say, him going out on the ledge last year to pick them, he would have some justification to pick them this year. So certainly will be on my mind when we take the air that Donnie Shido, he would have picked him #1. No doubt. Well, doesn't matter the year.
Yeah, one has been joined by many ones who are thinking highly of Toledo and Central Michigan at the top of the MAC West, and Ball State as a dark horse there too. I like what the Cardinals bring to the table there as well. All right, so we're talking football. It's great to see you again, and it will be great to see you in Mount Pleasant as well, which your birthday is just a couple of days before the game, right?
Yeah, it's Tuesday, actually. It's election day. It's weird, Russ. I've told you this, but it took me 25 plus years for people to actually care about the day that Adam Jaksa was born. Finally, here in 2020, it's come to fruition. I'm just wondering what the heck took people so long to care about that day so much.
Well, as someone who's born on Valentine's Day, I can tell you that a lot of people are going to celebrate your birthday, but not necessarily because it's your birthday. Yeah. So take as much as you can get. And seriously, thanks for the time. Look forward to seeing you at Kelly Shorts.
You got it, Russ. Thanks so much.
That's the Other Mike segment presented by the Athens Area Union Building Trades, proud to call Southeast Ohio home. And this is Bobcat TV.